see right about here, there is the option, in case you're not sure, you should not sign the form.
Here's the pen. Go ahead and sign.
Instead, the Family Support Division will provide free paternity testing.
You can sign. Just sign.
I'll take genetic testing for 300, Alex. I need John.
Ladies and gentlemen.
We'll turn on our microphone.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Maury Povich.
Welcome back. Before the break, we were talking with Sue and Jerry. The test results are back. And Jerry, you are not the father!
Shocked and hurt, Jerry moves out of his own apartment.
All right!
Sue was left alone with little baby. She didn't have a job.
Down here. I didn't mess that up too bad.
She felt lost. She didn't know what to do. She couldn't work if there was no one to take care of baby. What will she do? Wait.
Is that a nerd? Is it a nerd? It's a plant!
No, it's FSD woman. FSD woman, disguised as mild-mannered Ada O'Connor, works at Sue's local family support resource center. She helps Sue apply for different assistance programs and explains that her application will be referred to child support. With Sue's cooperation, together they can locate baby's biological father. Sue gives Ada the names of the 3 men she had relations with during the same 60-day window that she was sharing an umbrella with Jerry. Sue began receiving assistance for her and baby. A referral was sent to the Central Intake Center for processing, and within 10 short days her case was opened, and a paternity worker named Caroline began reviewing the information Sue provided. Caroline sent a request to the Central Locate Unit. Remember Tommy, Benny, and Levon? They were named as possible alleged fathers for Amy. But now might be a good time to mention that Levon was only 17. Now don't judge poor Sue. His mustache made him look much older. Tommy and Benny were easy to find. Levon, however, was a little more difficult. Sweet Caroline sent a request to the Central Locate Unit to help her find 17-year-old Levon. CLU has a few resources to which she did not have access. Levon was found on Facebook. Social media, who would have thought it could be so helpful? A letter was sent to all 3 alleged fathers. Levon received a letter to minor alleged fathers that informed him that his parents would also receive notice that he had been named as a possible father. Levon read the words, "You have been named as a possible father. Your parents have also been notified." Levon was correct. He was in trouble. If he could make it out of this situation alive, he vowed never to use his fake ID again. He would stay out of clubs. He would always wear rings. Sweet Caroline was able to schedule a time for each of the gentlemen to come in to be swabbed. The swabs were labeled and sent off to the genetic testing company for processing. In 2 short weeks, the results were in. Back to the Lori Hogan show.
Lori! 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 Lori!
We're back. We have our results. Levi, you are not the father.
Yes, baby! You! I told you! Woo!
Benny,
Yes.
you are not the father.
Yeah!
Tommy, you could not be excluded as the father. Congratulations.
When Tommy got home, he sat down with a bottle of Jack in his lap. On his paper, reread the words, 98% or greater as compared to another family. He was confused and a little terrified. Even though he read the words, he had no idea what they meant. Tommy had a buddy who went through a similar situation, and he ignored all the letters for child support. Now his buddy had a wage withholding in place for current support, plus an additional amount coming out for all the arrears. Tommy specifically remembered his buddy saying he was in the rear, and it didn't sound pleasant. He figured his best option was to contact the person listed on the list. Caroline answered the phone when Tommy called. She explained the information contained in the letter and answered questions for Tommy. Like, what happens next? How much support am I going to have to pay? Will I ever get to see this kid? Caroline explained that she was glad Tommy had called her, and it's very important that he fill out the financial and informational request form and return it to Caroline. She also told him she'd be happy to assist him in completing the form if he needed help. She explained that Family Support Division establishes child support orders. Typically, a child support order requires a parent to provide monthly cash payments and health insurance to support his or her child. When determining a child support amount, FSD uses the child support guidelines set forth by the Missouri Supreme Court. These guidelines consider both parents' incomes and child-related expenses. The Missouri Child Support Obligation Calculation Worksheet, or Form 14, is used to calculate the child support amount. The information that Tommy provided would help child support determine a right-sized obligation. She also told him he would receive the determination in the mail and have the opportunity for a conference if he had more questions. Tommy would have the option of requesting a hearing throughout his child support process if he believed there was an error in the calculations or information or actions that were taken against him. He could always call Caroline if he had questions. Tommy thanked Caroline for all her help. Now, are you wondering about Sue and little Mamie? Well, Sue received her letter with the results of Tommy's paternity. She too called Caroline to ask her what would happen next. Caroline explained to Sue that she should fill out the financial and informational statement so they could complete the Form 14 calculations. Sue told Caroline that her mom had moved back to town and in with Sue and baby. Her mom was disabled and couldn't work, so Caroline was able to get a part-time job. She had some income, but it was tough to make ends meet. Caroline explained the process of establishing an order. She told Sue that they would use the reported income and expenses along with Tommy's information to calculate an amount of support. Sue wanted to know if Tommy expressed any interest in meeting Mindy, and Caroline explained that child support does not handle issues of custody or visitation, but Sue could reach out to him on her own. Sue thanked Caroline for helping explain the establishment process to her. She was happy to know that child support could order Tommy's name to be added to Mamie's birth certificate. When Sue and Tommy returned their financial and informational statements to Caroline, she got right to work, calculating a child support obligation for Mamie. According to the Form 14 instructions, she used Sue's part-time wages and Tommy's full-time wages. Tommy had been with his employer very reasonable at only $47 a month. She gave Tommy credit for carrying health insurance, knowing that the child support would issue a national medical support notice once the administrative order was sent for filing. Neither Tommy nor Sue had any other dependents. She didn't receive any credit for daycare expenses since her mother was watching little baby at no cost. The results were in. Tommy's obligation was $750 a month. Caroline had a feeling Tommy would protest when he received his paperwork. She mailed out the establishment paperwork, and she was correct. Tommy requested a conference. During the conference, Caroline explained their options and discussed the possibility of a deviation. Sue and Tommy could not reach an agreement, and they could not find a reason for deviation, so Tommy faxed in a written hearing request. Caroline prepares the hearing packet with all the necessary documents following the procedure manual. During the hearing, Caroline was present, Sue and Tommy were present via phone, and the hearings officer explained the process of the hearing. She swore in all the parties, and since they'd already discussed their issues during the conference, they agreed there was no reason for a pre-hearing conference. All the evidence was presented, the documents in the hearing packet were qualified. Tommy realized that a 25% downward deviation, which they had discussed and able to find a reason for, was his best option. The hearing officer said that she would take all the evidence, he would take all the evidence under advisement and issue a decision within a month's time. The hearing decision came back in 40 days. Caroline reviewed the hearing decision for accuracy. She remembered receiving a hearing decision once that had listed her as the non-custodial parent, and the NCP was listed as a caseworker. It's rare, but mistakes or typos happen, so it's important to review your hearing decision to be sure that it's accurate. Tommy was ordered to pay $562.50 per month and cover maybe under his employer-provided health care plan. The amount he was ordered to pay was a result of a 25% downward deviation. The Missouri Supreme Court determines the amounts calculated in the child support calculation worksheet of Form 14 instructions. And Caroline followed the child support calculation worksheet, and they were able to use a deviation, knowing that Tommy was much more likely to continue to pay his support since the obligation was less than 25% of his take-home pay. The Surgeon General warns when non-custodial parents' obligations are 25% or more of their take-home pay, they're likely to go into hiding. Okay, the Surgeon General doesn't say that, but they're having a study show. Caroline processed their hearing decision according to policy. She used the immediate income withholding order and national medical support notice issued to Tommy's employer. Tommy wasn't excited about the wage withholding, especially because he was 2 months behind before he even had a chance to start paying. So the wage withholding was issued for current support plus 50%, not to mention the money he had to pay for health insurance. Overnight, the case moved into enforcement. Tommy almost had a heart attack when he received the income withholding order. He picked up the phone and called the customer service call center to discuss the possibility of having the arrears amount on his income withholding order lowered. He told them there was no way he could afford to have that much money coming out of his paycheck. He wasn't that far behind, and they were going to take almost $300 more. Tommy said $100 more wouldn't be so bad. Well, the customer service call center didn't have the authority to change the withholding, but they offered to contact the field office and have a worker call Tommy to discuss his options. They included everything that Tommy had said in their diary note. When the worker received the email, they reviewed the case and decided $100 towards arrears would be acceptable since Tommy was only a few months behind. That option would be much better than Tommy quitting his job. The worker made a detailed diary note explaining that the withholding would be revised to current support plus $100. When Tommy called back to the customer service call center, they were able to give him that information, and he was satisfied.